Hi everyone, welcome to The Creative Woman and the fifth viewer request for reading their north and south nodes of the moon. And so today it's going to be North Node in Gemini in the ninth house. And then on the second video, which will still say viewer number 5, viewer request, can't speak, will, because they're on the cusp, so the second video will be 8th house North Node as well. Okay, so let's get started. And for any of you that don't know and you're new to listening to these, each and every one of us have a north and south node of the moon that you can find in your natal wheel. And that's where each and every one of our personal work is. And this is how we bring that into our conscious awareness so it doesn't block us anymore. Okay, so going to read Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node first. And then if I have any intuitive thoughts, impressions coming, I will then incorporate that into this reading too, if necessary. Okay. Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node. Here, the individual receives an invitation to join society. Your soul has come into this life with a past incarnation residue of wildness. As a result, you are unaccustomed to appreciating the point of view of others. The karmic continuation of a strong, self-righteous attitude makes it difficult for you to be a fair judge of your own actions. As such, your life is excessive. You are still attracted to the natural existence without formalities and will go far out of your way to avoid having any restrictions imposed on you. You're used to being a free spirit and desperately try to retain this sense of liberty at all costs. Whether married or not, your soul memory of you being bachelor-like, having a bachelor-like attitude makes it impossible for others to get too close to you. Believing that actions speak louder than words, you make your present life a kaleidoscope of rushed activity. You always try to do too many things at a time, spreading yourself so thin that you keep losing sight of any central life theme. In past incarnations, you functioned on great reservoirs of nervous energy. Yet, for all of your activities, you have not yet learned how to focus your attention in any one area. In this life, you are still seeking expediency and finding yourself forever the victim of shortcuts that have to be repeated. Unaccustomed to all the demands of society, you try to shirk responsibility. You feel that if you can just clear away all the business at hand as quickly as possible, you will then experience the freedom that society is trying to take away from you. And so, most of your time is spent trying to free yourself. What you don't realize is that each action creates an equal and opposite reaction. As a result, you're actually making yourself more imprisoned than before. Always, your nature is somewhat primitive. If you are selfish, it's done innocently. If you step on others' toes, it is because you are unaware they are there. Always you seem to miss the obvious, blissfully ignorant of the immediate circumstances around you. When it comes to social graces, you are so inexperienced that you appear to be the proverbial, quote, bull in the china shop, unquote. In the current life, you are learning how to mix with society that you are benefiting from, yet still fearful of the reactions of people. You live your life on the rim of the wheel, occasionally darting into the center of the hub, only to run back out again. Your past life experiences with people were lacking in the areas of cooperation, sociability, and tact. Now you are striving, excuse me, now you are striving to reach sophistication. You don't yet know how to see a clear reflection of yourself, for you don't understand that there are two sides to the same coin. Through your Gemini North Node, you will now undergo experiences which will force you to see both sides of every issue. In this life, you are destined to learn what the world looks like through the eyes of others. Before you can understand why people seem not to listen to you, you must first put yourself in their place. Ultimately, you will come to realize that all the negative qualities you have been attaching to others are things you do not understand in your own self. Sometimes you are a shouter in a library. No matter how sophisticated you pretend to be, you had so much past life residue of crudeness in you that it is bound to seep through at the most inappropriate moments. This embarrasses you so much that you become determined to polish yourself by paying attention to your mannerisms, habits, public behavior, and particularly your mode of speaking. Bless your hearts. Bless your hearts. Through your Gemini North Node, you will spend so much of your life's energy learning how to be adept at the art of communication. You now feel the need to educate yourself so that you can establish an identity in society. At one time in the current life, you will be faced with the conflict of whether to live in the city, which is Gemini, or the country, Sagittarius. Now, your basic nature for so many lifetimes would feel more comfortable in a country setting. You can learn much by adapting yourself to the new experience of coping with city life. Through this Gemini North Node, you must learn diplomatically to respect the rights of others if you are to help preserve a society which in prior lives you thought unimportant, but in this life is necessary for your very survival. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay. While your body cries out for sports, nature, and the primitive life, your mind will eventually lead you toward a study of words, language, and a reflection of your self-expression so that you start to become a more humanistic part of the culture that you live in. Oh, that's neat. So that you can actually take part Oh, that's really wonderful. And what I just got too is bring into that culture your natural nature and um, frontiersman or woman abilities that you naturally have into the culture. That's harmony. That's nature is everything harmonious. And so you have the ability to bring that harmony, that peace and that peace and harmony and balance of nature into the lives of everyone living in the city. That's what I'm getting. Okay. You are like the wild stallion, desperately trying to fight being tamed, and yet wondering what the experience might be like. In the midst of this seeming paradox, you are the messenger of the lower and higher minds to all who come in contact with you. Oh, I love it. Your past incarnations brought you, to a natural understanding of the universe. Now, your mission is not only for yourself, but also to spread this understanding to the myriads of people that run through your life. Herein lies the mystical reason for your eternal restlessness. You have much to say and much ground to cover. The house position of the South Node shows the area in life where past incarnation residue still pulls you toward a desire to be a free spirit. The house position of the Gemini North Node indicates the doorway through which you must walk in order to experience the advantages of the civilized humanistic culture you are destined to join. Yes, again, you, Gemini North Nodes, any of you, any and all who have this, you are to bring that, let me just get that free spirit, because you're absolutely, each one of us are free spirits. You are to bring that with you, to share that in the city or in amongst people and everyone that you meet. That's what you're to share, so that they keep their individuality, but are more rounded. Anyway, you're gonna do it however you specifically, because it has to do with your specific charts and all of that too. And then now I'm gonna read. Next is the North Node in the 9th house, which then flavors you personally, each and every one of you that have both of these, more uniquely. So, okay, so let me now find the North Node in the 9th house, which the 9th house is the higher mind, which is truth, the higher truths. So that's what you're bringing in. Higher truths. Oh, that is so beautiful. Okay. Okay, so the 9th house North Node, 3rd house South Node. This individual is forever pulling himself out. Okay, excuse me, I'm going to start again. I'm going to personalize it. You are forever pulling yourself out of webs of entanglement. Every relationship you enter becomes so complicated that you have to use all your energies to free yourself. In past incarnations, you developed a great need for people, and herein lies your weak spot. For as much as you now think you would like to be alone, you feel an almost compelling need to reach for others. You listen to problems and like to be in the position of giving advice. Often frustrated by the multitude of problems dumped in your lap, you secretly think that if you had had more education, you would be better equipped to cope with all the questions that befall you. You keep trying to be as diplomatic as possible and are constantly enmeshed in the afterthoughts of the words you have spoken to others. Always conscious of the interpretation your words may be given, you nurture an inner fear of being misunderstood. As a result, you keep going back to yesterday's conversation to re-explain all that you meant. You must understand the essence of truth without having to feel compelled to make truth smaller by trying to communicate it verbally to others. One of your greatest problems is dealing with the karmic residue of an insatiable curiosity, which, although it served you well in former incarnations, now keeps leading you deeper into the webs of details. Your greatest crises occur each time you are forced to make decisions, for rather than relying on your intuition or your higher mind, you keep seeking more facts and details in the hope that when you have all the information, the decision-making process will be easier. Okay. Constantly striving to achieve neutrality, you become a paradox to yourself. In prior lives, you fell into the habit of identifying with catchy phrases, cute sayings, and euphemisms to the point that you have now become a walking cliche. Liking to read and explore a wonderland of knowledge that you see around you, your life is a constant thirst for more understanding. You are convinced that this is the one path in life that has no end. Whatever you become keenly interested in, you can make into a lifelong study, particularly if the South Node is in a fixed sign. Okay, fixed sign. Well, for those of you that have the Gemini North Node, that is a mutable sign. Gemini is mutable, so that doesn't pertain to you, again, who have the Gemini North Node, which I just read previously. Okay. You like to feel worldly. As a result, you'll do things that others wouldn't just for the sake of experiencing a new understanding. Your current life is involved with so many people that hurt feelings are bound to fly, not because of any malicious intent, but rather through the inability to keep up with everyone in whose life you have become involved. At the very deepest of levels, you have many inner doubts about yourself, which become amplified when you speak with others. For if it were at all possible, you would try to be all things to all people. As a result of past life habits, you spend too much time in the lower mind. You go through more movements than you have to. And if this is not expressed physically, then you do it in thought. At times, Your merry-go-round of possibilities is so great that you thoroughly drain yourself by thinking about what you should do. Okay. Let me read that again. At times, your merry-go-round of possibilities is so great that you thoroughly drain yourself by thinking about what you should do. And as a result, you do nothing. Okay. You will experience fears that you are sexually impotent. Once you start questioning along this track, your enormous thirst for understanding can lead you into a promiscuous behavior pattern until you are reassured that all is well and you are perfectly normal. And I have to say, I want to interject here for those of you that you're listening, and this is true for you, and you recognize that. If any guilt comes up, that has been taught. That is it, because it is not. This is what you were. What I am reading is what you were born with. This is what you were going to and go through this, because this is a program that each and every one of us have. Our South nodes, that's a program that's put in our subconscious, and we are going to go through that cycle. It's going to feel like this is what's going to get us what we need. This is what's going to work. But it doesn't. But until this is brought out into each and every one of our consciousness, we don't know that. So any feelings of guilt or shame, any of that stuff, that's unfounded for each and every one of us. So I just feel, of course, you're probably going to feel guilty, and that's natural, but it's also not true. No guilt. And I know that's easier said than done. But I do have that understanding with me personally. I came in with extra amounts of guilt, extra amounts of personal guilt, and especially in this sexual arena, especially in the U.S. I don't know about other countries, but the U.S. we definitely have been programmed to have, that's a sin, or anyway. So this is how we're made. In the universe is in an image, God's image, however you see that, but we were created this way. So how could we can't be bad. None of this is about being bad. And so any of that comes down on those feelings that come up, that comes from conditioning, genetically conditioning for some of us too, especially in the U.S. again. Okay. On your deepest level, you are not a sexual animal, but in fact so mentally inclined that you have fears of being shut out from the nitty-gritty of life because of your mental inclinations. Like the young child afraid of his peers, afraid his peers will accuse him of being a bookworm, he will dare himself to prove that he can be accepted in a physically oriented world. Nevertheless, your greatest subconscious need is one day to become a walking encyclopedia that will never be caught short lacking the right piece of information at the right moment. Your biggest growth comes when you learn how to make the karmic transition from lower to higher mind. As you drop your past life attachment to trivia, your eyes begin to open wide to the enormous horizons before you. The less you talk to others, the more faith you start to develop. Okay, let me read that again. The less you talk to others, the more faith you start to develop. You must learn how constantly to broaden your interests so that your scope of knowledge is not limited by the demands of your immediate circle of relationships. You do well when you learn how to step back so that you can see the forest from the trees. When you do this, you also learn how to let things slide off your back, which gives you a new sense of peace that somehow always eluded your reach. Traveling helps to broaden your perspective, and you meet your greatest successes far from your place of birth. For some, the life will be influenced greatly by a foreigner. Through the 9th house North Node, enormous spiritual growth is possible once you have learned how to pull away from all of your prior life doubts and questions. You must take your mind out of a finite world and focus on an infinite consciousness. You will lose friends by doing this, for there are few who will fully understand your sudden aloofness. But through those who stay with you, you will learn the difference between a friend and an acquaintance. As you grow, you begin to focus on ideas rather than the words through which the ideas are expressed. You see how others limit themselves by language and try to speak to their ideas rather than to their words. The sign which contains the South Node indicates the ways in which the soul memory of past incarnations is still too embedded in lower mind activities. The sign which contains the North Node shows the ways in which the individual can now the sign which contains the North Node shows the ways in which you can now free yourself through the broadening influence of your higher mind. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. All right. Okay. That's all I have to say. And I need to say this really quick. So when you're looking at your north and south nodes of the moon, some of you are going to have planets, asteroids that are conjuncting right next to your north and or both your north and south nodes of the moon, or either one of those. That's very significant, and you're going to want to study that as well. And if you don't know how to study that, then just leave me a comment below, and I will assist you in any way I possibly can. Okay, so thank you for joining me, and I hope this helps you, and I would love to hear any questions or comments from you. Okay.